Nothing? Everybody can find a slope? Lovely. There's the second page, the first half of it. Again, the highlighted answers, where it gets slightly confusing, are where you should be aiming to get to. You can see that for 13 through 16, I put them into slope-intercept form. Remember, slope-intercept form is when y is isolated. Please notice I am not doing the grade 5 algebra thing where you actually write it all out, but I am showing you what I am doing by moving these things this way. Everything so far is worth 1 mark. And then those are the lines that you had to draw. Now, obviously, I didn't need any of this. I just needed graph the line. Any questions from page 2? I am not expecting many questions. Hey. If I do, it's over on the filing cabinet there. I told Betty quite some time ago that we were out. It would be on top. So, yeah. I'm not expecting many questions until the 3rd or 4th page of this, but that's okay if you have them. Don't take that to mean don't ask questions. I'm just not expecting too many. 218. Again, you do not need any of that. Those are the lines. All right, actually, I don't think you guys are page 218. You're like 228 or something now. Oh, 254. Okay. And there's 25 and 26. Really, all of you should be at this point, questions of this caliber, you should be literally 2-3 seconds a question to get these graphed. If you're not there yet, that's not a put down. It just means you haven't practiced enough. Now we may be getting into some questions. This is worth 2 marks because you had to find the intercepts and then you had to graph it. Now, you will notice that my y-intercept was a fraction, which means I changed the scale over here. I made my y's 1/5 per square. So I went up 8/5. But you'll notice I could not do that on the x-axis, or I would have had to go out to 20. I had no space for that, so I left the x-axis as 1. I showed that to myself by actually labeling the number 1 on the y-axis and the number 1 on the x-axis. What is the danger here? If I ask you for this slope, some of you will count still because it's on a graph, and you will tell me the slope is -2 because you went up 8 squares and over 4. That is not correct. Everybody understands that, right? The slope here is 8/5 rise divided by 4 run, which is 8/5 times 1/4. It's actually a slope of -8/20. I didn't ask you to find slope, but I like to take every chance I can to show you that when you are dealing with a graph with two different scales, you cannot count for slope. You must use the actual values. And that will become abundantly clear when you take Physics 11. Because I trust that every one of you will be taking physics. Because it's the awesomest science.
I do not. I don't want to.
Disappointment is clouding my face. So what, y'all took biology?
Yeah. Bio was it.
I took bio.
Bio was better.
There's the next one. Not that there is anything wrong with biology and chemistry, but, you know, physics is what's happening to you right now. Okay. Just checking, you know. The answer is 8. Those were each out of 2. By the way, you got 1 for the graph there and 1 for the work. Yes, that's exactly what it is. I'm just kidding, Crystal. Calm down. Now, number blah on this page is often done spectacularly poorly. So, please check it carefully. The hints are in the question. The answer is that. Y equals negative 2x plus 8. Yes.
Can we please go over the question before this?
Okay. Which part?
The y equals 8 part.
Okay. You know that's an x, right?
Yes. Yeah.
You know that's a y, right?
Yeah.
You know that's a second x, right? You know that's a second y, right? And you know that's a slope, right?
Yeah.
And you know that slope equals 1y minus the other y over 1x minus the other x, right? So you put it all in. And then you cross multiply. No problemo. That's what I'm here for.
What?
You said you did a different formula.
Yeah, I did.
I'm confused.
I did point slope.
But there's no equation. Oh, I see. So you did this. You went y minus y1
Yeah.
equaled 6/5 x minus, well, no, because you had both x's there. So you went, you had one of the y's there. So you said y plus 2.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you got to remember y plus 2, so you're going to make that. That's your unknown. So then this would have been 2 plus 3, which would have been y plus 2 equaled 6. 6. See, that needed to be y. If you were going to do it that way, then it needed to be y plus 2 equaled 6/5 2 plus 3. Right, which would have been y plus 2 equaled 6 equals 4.
Yeah. That's what I got. So why
Negative
is
3.
Yeah, I got y before.
Just everyone relax. Y plus 2 2 minus minus 3. 5y plus 10 equals 30. 8. So, negative 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. So, if I'm going up 6 and right 5 from negative 2, when I go up 6, I'm at positive 4. When I go right 5, I'm at positive. Yeah, so what the halibut did I write wrong? Because that's right. Oh, I wrote minus 10 instead of plus 10. What a yahoo. 5y equals 20. Yeah, y is 4. Nice. Well done. Good job, everyone. What a maroon.
Wow, I'm proud.
You should be. The next one causes its biggest problems because people don't read that they're intersecting on the x-axis, which means they are sharing an x-intercept, not a y-intercept. So you couldn't really use you couldn't really use Slope-Intercept Form. No, because you didn't need to graph it.
Can we go through this question?
Yeah, of course we can. The pink work is the this line right here. I got the x-intercept and the y-intercept, and I made the line. Once you had the pink x-intercept, you knew that was a point that was going to be on the y-axis, yeah, or on the x-axis. Once you knew the slope here, which was up to and right 4, it was a slope of positive 1/2, right? But you needed a perpendicular slope, so you reciprocated it and made it negative, which was negative 2. And then from there, I just counted to get a y-intercept. But you didn't need to. You could have used point slope form. Because you knew that 0, 4, 0 was on the blue graph as well. So you could have done y minus 0, equaled, you knew the slope, negative 2, x, and that was, the known point was positive 4, so it would have been x minus 4, and then you could have solved. And when you solve that, of course, you get y equals negative 2x. Negative 2 times 4 is positive 8. That must have been worth 2 points. Yeah. Well, it looks like I made that worth 3 points. Oh, that was nice of me. That's worth 3 points. And then these two, the final answer for which you seek is that and that. But now I had better check that I did my negatives right. Negative 15, 5 times 2, negative 5, 8. Got that one right. This one. So in this one, what I did was I knew my slope was 15 over 5 for AB, so I flipped it and made it negative, and I left the other one the same. Then I cross-multiplied. Negative 5 times negative 1 to positive 5. 15 times 2 is 30 minus 15A. Right. Okay. You could also, with this one, have flipped the other side and left this as 15 over 5. You would have gotten the same answer. The keys, of course, are the words, perpendicular and parallel. If they're parallel, the slopes have to be the same. If they're perpendicular, they have to be negative. Opposite reciprocals. And lastly, you just converted them all to slope-intercept form and you graphed it to get 4 points. Now, I stress this again because people seem to have issues with this. Remember, that and that are on the graph, as opposites. So the point was -3, +4. And if you cannot remember this, and you say to yourself, x plus 3, it must be 3, 4, just try that in the equation. 3 plus 3 is 6, times 3/4 is 4.5. 4 minus 4 is 0. 0 does not equal 6, 18 over 4, 4.5. So it can't be 3 and 4. Ganika.
I think for your slope-intercept form, I think it's wrong.
Slope-intercept form.
Right there, the bottom. Oh, okay. Sorry.
Slope-intercept form starts as general form and then you finish it.
Yeah.
Gouda? Great. I can't remember what that's out of. It's out of like 41 or something. That part. Something like that. And then we turn the page over to the one that is more theoretical based. Practical based. CCBB. Any questions about CCBB? Any questions about CCBB? It's dancing. CCBB is good? Dad. BD. Dad BD. Any questions about Dad BD? 5. All right, which statement is true? So you need to check the intercepts. When you are checking the intercepts, x-intercepts are x, 0. There's an x, there's an x. 3x minus 4y, there's a y, there's a y. 4 times 0 is 0, so the 0 drops out. 3x minus 12 equals 0. Bring the 12 over. 3x equals 12, x equals 4. And then the same thing over here. I cannot stress this enough, ladies and gentlemen. X, y. 73.7, 81.4. Where does that go? Anywhere you see an X in that question. Where does that go? Anywhere you see a Y in that particular question. I cannot stress this enough. Do not overthink this. Do not go crazy. It is X, Y. Every single question you have has an X and a Y in it. Now, if we're in physics class and we're not using X's and Y's, or we're in social studies and we're not using X's and Y's, or we're in biology and we're not using X's and Y's because we're graphing the growth of bacteria over time, then it's not X, Y, it's IV, dV. But it's still X and Y. Okay? Dad bud. Dad's your bud. C. This question is done appallingly when I put it on tests. Questions just like this. Multiple choice is as much eliminating bad answers as it is finding the right answers. There is a skill to writing a multiple choice test that has nothing to do with your knowledge of it. Okay? It had a positive slope, so right away it couldn't be A or B. So you don't even need to think about them. You don't even have to think about it. And then you're like, oh, I can't remember if it's opposite or what. Oh, I'm so screwed up, I don't know. So you pick any point on the graph that you can actually get the exact point for. Like, oh, say that one. And that point is 1, 2, correct? That one is what? An X. That is an X. 2, 2. And then you check, and if it works, it's that one. If you can't remember that it's opposite, X plus 3 means the negative 3 is X, Y plus 1 means negative 1 is Y, negative 3, negative 1, then you can check with any other point, because X comma Y will work in the equation if the equation is right for the line, which is what this question was about. Right? Sweet. And 11 is C. The short answer one fools a lot of people because I asked for the x-intercept and the y-intercept, and I wrote it that way. A great many people, as soon as they see y isolated, say, oh, it's slope-intercept form, I got it. And then they don't recognize that this has been reversed. Because in slope-intercept form, this is really y equals negative x plus 1. So your y-intercept is plus 1, your slope is negative 1. Right? Right. 1 for the x-intercept, 1 for the y-intercept, 1 for the graph. Yeah? Yeah. Write the equation in slope-intercept form. I am giving you 2 marks each for these because I like you. All you do is move the stuff over to isolate the y. This is a problem. A lot of people forget that this has a 1 there. I would also accept y equals x divided by 4 minus 2. I would accept that. Christine and the censor. 1. A, the slope and the d-intercept. All of that is going to get you 3 points because you had to explain what they mean. The d-intercept is her starting point because that is at time 0. Her distance from the camera at time 0 is 2 meters. The slope tells us she's moving 3 meters in 2 seconds, which I'm willing to give you full marks for. But of course, that isn't the best answer, is it? We don't say I'm driving 100 kilometers per 2 hours. We do it in units. So 1.5 meters per second would have been a better answer. And then, of course, since you had a slope and a d-intercept, you could just write it in slope-intercept form. And I even told you what that would look like. And then lastly, there were a couple of options. Some people like to use the graph. 6 meters, they go across to here, then they go straight down there, and they say, oh, it's between 2 and 3. Slightly past 2.5. Is that a good answer? It's a good answer. Is it the best answer? Of course not, because in the best answer, you would give it to me exactly by making D 6 and then solving for time, which was 8/3, which is 2 2/3 of a minute, which is, of course, 2/3 of a minute is 40 seconds. That is the best answer you could have given me. Any questions? That whole number 1 there is out of 5. Everyone is Gouda? This question is a really good example of the type of question that might show up on your numeracy test. Except it wouldn't have any of this. It would only be C. And how you solved it would affect your mark on the rubric scale. If you use the graph, you would not get as high a rubric mark as somebody who used this. But you would still get the answer because you would know the answer. Everyone understand? Sweet. No, not sweat. That's gross. You don't say, oh, I have a real sweat tooth. Exactly, right? You have a sweet tooth. You do not have a sweat tooth. Although I think that is very funny. Yes, and here is why. When my current wife and myself were just boyfriend and girlfriend, we would call each other sweetie, which of course morphed to sweaty, which of course morphed to everything sweat. Sweat sock, sweat house, sweat lodge. My personal favorite was, you guys won't get this one, but there's a fitness guru from the 80s named Richard Simmons. You might know who he is, but he had an exercise show on TV, and he's a funny cat, we will say. And he disappeared from popular culture for a long, long time. And then he came out in the late 90s with an exercise program that was like 1980s aerobics, dancing to music, but he used old songs, and he called his program Sweatin' to the Oldies. I know, right? And that also became one of our nicknames for each other. Yes. We've outgrown that, too. We don't call each other that, either. Nor do we call each other anything but Matt and Catherine, because what the hell's the point? Right? It's not like, But, sweat tooth, yes. And the last question. A lot of people have problems with the last question. I don't know why they have problems with the last question, because I even told you how to do it. I said use point-slope form. But Mr. Myers, we don't have X's and Y's. But we do have X's and Y's because we are counting time versus girls playing hockey. So obviously the X is the time and the girls are the Y. But Mr. Myers, we don't know the slope, but you do know the slope because slope is rate of change. And the question tells us that 4,162 girls per year, so 4,162 over 1, because when we go over 1 on the years, we go up 4,162 girls. You also had the slope there. So all you had to do was fill it in. There is the equation, which gets you 2 marks. And then you had to say, I want that equation to find the girls playing ice hockey in 2009. That is a time, right? Times are X's. So you put 2009 in for your unknown X, and you left your Y alone. And then you did your good friend algebra to get Y equals 82,858. If you did not do that question right, you need not feel bad. Many, many people do not do it right. Even though I tell you how to do it. Now, if I am not mistaken, this assignment on page 268, I believe, and correct me if I am wrong, I believe I said I would be posting the key for you and you could check it yourself. Yes? Because there is nothing new on that assignment, right? That's just algebra with the forms that we know, yeah? Okay, so that key will go up today with today's recording. Yeah? What? You will not see this specifically on any test, but the skills of algebra you see on every single test. Preston. What do you mean, what is the test? Oh, when? When we have it. No. Huh? I would really recommend doing it. And now we are on, we did not do anything from page 273 yet, correct? Excellent. That is where we sit right now on page 273. Okay, good friends. It is indeed, but it's so not really, because there's no skill here that is new. You're going to see it and you'll be like, oh yeah, I could already figure that out, Myers. You're an idiot. Why are you even making us do this? So, tell me the answer to that. You don't even need to write it down. Tell me what the answer is. Kinda. It's x equals 3, right? We know it's 3. Agreed? Why do we know it is 3? Think before you answer, because if you just answer right now without me doing this long paragraph for you to think about what you're actually going to say, you would blurt out the wrong answer, and I would go like that guy on Sesame Street who's trying to play the piano. Go. Why do you know it is 3? Unica?
I was saying because on both sides you have to subtract 3 so then you know what x is.
Right. The answer to the question I asked is why do you know it is 3? Because 6 minus 3 is 3. A great many students always say, because 3 plus 3 is 6. I know, right? And I'm like, oh, really? That's why it worked? Yeah, I don't need no algebra. Okay, then what is this one? X plus 2.174 equals 3.529. It's, I don't know. I know you don't know. Why don't you know? I just don't know. Because they don't recognize that what they're actually doing is, of course, algebra. Right? So, now let me ask you this. What is the answer to the red question? McKenna? That's still not an answer. I still have X and Y. Those are unknowns.
I think it's just that.
Jasleen? Okay.
Oh, 0, x 0, 0, y.
No. No. No.
You can plug in x.
Oh, you made it not fun, Brittany. You guys are supposed to guess everything, and I keep saying no, 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 and you're supposed to keep guessing. But you ruined it. Thanks.
I said it's something.
Brittany, what's the answer? You can't find that answer. Why? Because there's 2 unknowns. It is impossible for you to find that answer. The answer was actually 9,006 plus negative 6. That was the answer that I sought, which you would never have found, right? Why would you never have found it? It's not quite 9,006. I did it wrong. It's the other way around. It's 9,012 and minus 6, plus minus 6, or plus 9,006. It doesn't matter. The point is, no, you can't be confused. You can't answer that question. Why? That is the only thing we are talking about here. Thomas, why can you not tell me the answer to the red equation?
Because there's like an infinite number of answers.
There's an infinite number of answers because there are 2 unknowns. You cannot tell me the answer to the red question. Does everybody understand? All right. Now, if you had both of these questions, could you tell me the answer to the red question? You could. Why? Because you know that x is what? 3. So if x is 3 from the black question, you then know the answer to the red question. Everybody understand? You cannot solve any algebra with more than one unknown. Everybody good? Okay. Let us begin then. A system of equations is a group of at least 2 equations. That's it. That's all it is. As long as you got 2 equations, you've got a system. There's one little other rule, though. It may have a solution. Which means what? If it may have a solution, what's the opposite side of that coin? It may not have a solution. There is no guarantee. Everybody cool? All right. So, a linear equation. What's a linear equation? We've just done 3 units on it. What's a linear equation? Pardon me, Selena? Jasleen? Yes, the rate of change is constant, and it graphs a straight line. So, a linear equation is there should have been an and there, an equation which has a constant rate of change. Too many E's. Constant rate of changey. Constant rate of change. And graphs as a straight line. Everyone's cool, yeah? Yeah. Yeah. So what then must a linear system be?
When there's two equations that have a constant rate of change.
Yes, is a group of at least 2 linear equations. Everybody understands, right? Right? Okay. What does it mean when I say solve something? Well, that would be to solve 3 plus 2.
To solve something is when you find the answer to like a number.
You find
Like
the unknown.
The unknown.
Excellent. Absolutely correct. You find the unknowns, right? But in a system, that's difficult because there's more than one unknown. So to solve a system means you find... Yes. Means to find all the unknowns. Now, since it's a straight line, there is how many unknowns? 2. Because all lines are made up of what? Points. And all points are made up of? And all coordinates are? 2 unknowns. X, comma, Y. D, comma, T. Whatever, right? Okay. So, we today are going to do at least graphing. There's 3 ways to solve these. Graphing is the easiest, but it is also the worst. Because graphing, we already know why using graphing to solve problems is not the best way. Why not? Because it's not exact. So, now, for our purposes, are all of these going to work? Yes, they are going to work exactly because I am showing you how to do it. So, all you have to do is this. It even tells you. You find where the lines cross by graphing. Now, why is that the answer? Well, there's a blue. That's supposed to be blue. There's a blue line, right? That blue line is made up of what? Infinite numbers of x's and y's, right? Everyone agrees? Okay. So this point right there has an x and a y. This point right there has an x and a y. This point right there has an x and a y. That point right there has an x and a y. Agreed? And if we knew the equation of that line and we put those numbers into it, let's call that x plus y equals 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. And 1, 2. Everyone cool with that? That point, 4, 2, would work in the equation. Everybody agrees? Okay. Now, along comes a second line, because a system of equations must have more than one equation, right? Along comes a second line that goes through right there. That red line is made up of what? Infinite x's and y's. That xy is on both lines. So that is the solution to the system. Because that one spot in the entire universe is the one xy that works in both lines. Does everyone understand? Cool! Let's see if we really get it. Of course, what is the easiest way to graph? Slope-intercept form. M is slope. B is y-intercept. Graph each line. Find out where they cross. Why is this the solution? Because these coordinates, not coordinates, coordinates work on both lines or in both equations. Because the line of the equation is the same as the line, right? Wait, the line of the equation. The equation of the line is the same as the line, right? Okay. Let's do this thing. Graph this. Going to graph that guy blue. Going to graph that guy red. It's going to take about 2 seconds, right? What do I need to do to the blue guy to make him easily graphable? Pardon? Right, isolate y. So what moves? X. So y equals negative x plus 4. Could we graph that in our sleep? Of course we could. And the red one, what's that one going to be? 2y equals x plus 2, but that's not quite done, is it? What is it really? Y equals 1/2 x plus 1. Yeah? Now, go over to your graph and graph them. Everyone agrees there's my blue line, yeah? I went up 4, I got a slope of -1. I went down 4 over 4, made my slope. Everybody cool?
Wait, you just made up a slope?
No, the slope is -1. Everybody cool? Now I'm going to graph the red one. +1, slope is 1/2, up 1 over 2. And it goes right through there. And what do you notice? And you notice that blue plus red equals purple. And what is that number? Yes, McKenna. Which part, McKenna? The same way you always know where the points were. What is that? The y-intercept. 4. What is my slope? -1. So that means my rise and run have to be the same, don't they? So I went down 4 and over 4. -4 positive 4. Negative 4 divided by positive 4 is negative 1. I could have gone down 37 and write 37. I could have gone down 712.5 and write 712.5. Or I could have gone down 1 and write 1. The only reason I don't go down and write 1 is for the same reason I told you guys earlier. It's harder to graph something if you have 2 points that are very close together. So I chose points that are further apart. Now, that number right there, or that point right there is what? 2, 2. Now, whenever I show you guys something new and I say practice it, you come running up to me, Mr. Myers, am I right? Am I right? Am I doing this right? Mr. Myers, am I doing this right? And what do I always say? Did you check it? And then you say, no. And I say, go check it. And then I don't see you again. Is this one of those times? Every other time's been one of those times, isn't it? So is this one of those times? Of course. Because that represents what letter? X. That represents what letter? Y. What letter is that? X. What letter is that? Is 2 plus 2 4? What letter is that? Negative 2. What letter is that? Y. 2 times 2 is 4. Is negative 2 plus 4 positive 2? So did I do it right? Excellent. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Correct? Let's do the second one. As always, I'm going to take me a red line. I'm going to take me a blue line. What do I need to do for the red line? Isolate y. 3x minus 12 equals 2y. 3 over 2x minus 6 equals y. Is it isolated, and can I graph it? In 2 seconds. What is the blue one? Y equals... Pardon me, Ashneet? Negative 2x plus 1. Can I graph it? Yes, I can in my sleep. Let's make that happen. Plus 1, slope of negative 2. Negative 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Slope of 3 halves. Up 1, 2, 3. Over 1, 2. There's the crossover. What is that point? Other way around. No. 2, negative 3. Class, did we do it right? Class, did we do it right? Class, did we do it right? No, you don't need to guess. Oh, I thought you said I guess. Did we do it right? How do you know? Because you checked. Because every time you see number, comma, number, you have an X and a Y. And over here, you have a bunch of X's and Y's. Gouda? Great. Now, I want to show you this one because this is going to show you something new. Please calmly look at those two equations and relax because a bunch of you are scared about the way that's written. Some of you will not have seen that. Some of you will. Ganika, do you know what that means?
I think so. Doesn't that mean like there's no negative or anything like that?
Yeah, that's the practical answer. That's what it essentially means. But that's not quite right, but that'll do for our purposes. Carry on.
Doesn't it like stay the same? Like
Yes, it stays the same. This is a magnitude. It is called absolute value. It is the distance your number is from 0. So, if I draw a number line, there's 0, there's 7. How far is 7 from 0? 7. There's negative 7. How far is negative 7 from 0? 7. So the absolute value of negative 7 equals 7. because it's 7 steps from 0. Everybody understand? That's not the lesson here. That's not the point I'm trying to make. This shows something that I do want to make a point about. You do not need to remember how this works. Do not worry. So, if there were no absolute value brackets there, that would be y equals x, wouldn't it? And we could graph that in our sleep, correct? If y equals x, no matter what number I put, the other one is the same, yeah? So if I put 0 for y, what's x? 0. If I put 1, 2, 3, 4 for x, what's y? 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And it would look like this, correct? Now on the other side of 0, what if I put negative 1 for x? What's the absolute value of negative 1? How far is negative 1 from 0? 1. So the absolute value of negative 1 is positive 1. So if I go over here to negative 1, what's the absolute value? Positive 1. What if I go out to negative 4? I would go up to 4. Is everybody cool? And it graphs like this. 2 straight lines that bounce off the y-axis, or the x-axis. Everybody cool? You don't need to know that. I'm just doing this for illustrative purposes. Okay? So this line would continue to go up here forever. This line would continue to go up here forever. Everybody cool? All right. Now, this one is easy to graph. 1, 2, 3. And then up 1 over 2, up 1 over 2, up 1 over 2, and down 1, left 2. What do you see in this case? It crosses twice. So how many solutions are there? 2. Does everybody understand? This is 6, 6. Is the absolute value of 6, 6? Yes. Is half of 6 plus 3 6? Yes. Over here, negative 2, 2. Is the absolute value of negative 2, 2? Yes. Is half of 2 plus 3, half of negative 2 plus 3 positive 2? Yes. So it's right. Everybody understand?
Do you have to write down both answers?
Yes, both answers. And the reason I'm showing you this is not to stress you out about absolute value. That's not what's important here. What's important here is the fact that what Preston just asked. Every time the lines cross, that's a solution. Okay? In grade 11, you will be graphing things like this. Curves, a parabola. And then you would graph a second curve. How many solutions are there to this quadratic system? 2. Because they cross there and there. Understand? What if it looked like this? Now how many solutions? 4. What if I added this? Now how many solutions? 2. Because only the points where all 3 cross are solutions. Does everybody understand?
Yeah.
The concept is wherever they cross, that's the solution. That's what I'm trying to drive home by giving you questions like this that have things you would never see. Everybody good?
I'm just wondering for the x equals y thingy, so do you have to do it on both sides if you're graphing that?
Yes.
Okay.
Everybody understand? Ease, peas, lemon squeezy, right? If 2 graphed lines cross, any shape of line, that's the solution to the system. Okay? Yes? All right. Now, I firmly believe that based on the fact we've just done a whole unit on graphing, and based on the fact that you're the best and brightest, you probably don't need too much practice on this, do you? If you can graph 2 lines and you recognize that the x and y where they cross is the answer, are we good? Okay. So let's just look at number 3. Where is the solution? What is the solution to number 3? Negative 4, 2. Because that's where they cross. Everybody good? Okay, let's look at number 4a. Is that solution? What's the solution to 4a? 9, negative 2. Exactly? Yes, how do you know? Because it's right on the coordinates. What's the solution to b? Exactly. Why? Because it's not right on a dot. Everybody understands why graphing is not the best way to solve these. The best you can do with it most of the time is an approximate answer. Agreed? Okay. So we're all good, yeah? Graph the 2 lines, where they cross, there's your answer. We don't need to practice it, do we? All right. Now, I want you to look at number 8 and tell me why it would be a pain in the butt to tell me the solution. It's got a decimal. Super pain to graph, right? Because what does that say the slope is right there? 0.1. So I got to go up 0.1 for every one I go to the right. Agreed? And I got to do that until I get up to a y-intercept of 175. How many of you would like to graph that? Of course not. And what did you just learn? That graphing with fractions and decimals is a little bit of a pain in the rump, isn't it? And you know that I have already told you there's a better way to do these, right? Let's do the better way. Because graphing's silly. Everybody good? Turn the page. Now I have a little story to tell about this. There are, as you learned on the very first page, there's 3 ways to solve a system. We just did 1, graphing. Sucks, right? There's 2 more. These other 2 are equally effective. I've been teaching this graphing systems for 20 years. First year I taught this version first. Kids did it, they're like, oh my God, it's so hard. The next day, I taught the other version. And every kid in the class, oh my God, why didn't you teach us the second version first? It's so much easier. So being a good teacher, what did I do the next year? I switched around. And guess what happened? The second day, oh my God, the second one is so much easier. Why didn't you teach us it first? No problem. Next year I switched. Guess what happened? Oh my God, Mr. Myers, the second one is so much easier. Why didn't you teach us it first? Because, of course, it's not that you actually know what you're doing. It's not that. It's not you being good. So I have now since changed. I just do this one first. Because I don't like this one. I personally like the other one. So I get this one out of the way right now. Okay? All right, let's do this thing. If we were going to graph this, would it be easy to do?
Yeah.
Really?
No.
That one would be negative 4y equaled negative x minus 1. Y equaled 1/4 x plus 1/4. Is that easy to graph? No. This one would be 5y equaled negative 3x plus 31. Y equaled negative 3/5 x plus 31 over 5. You want to graph those? I don't, so we're not gonna. We're gonna use an algebraic solution to get the best answer we can. And this tells you how to do it. Word for word in order. In the green one, what does this tell you is should be your first step? Choose an equation and solve for one variable. Hint, choose a letter, if you can, with no coefficient. Coefficient of 1 or negative 1. Where should we work? The first one. So choose one and solve for one variable. For what variable are we solving? X. Because x equals 4y minus 1. Yes? Does everybody understand what I did there? Now, think about what I've been saying for the last 3 units. If I were to write this, 7, 5, what's that? An x. What's that? A y. What's that? What's that? And what could I do with 7 and 5? I could plug them in, couldn't I? Well, we're going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to work this one in pink. Take the new equation and substitute it into the other equation. What? What are you talking about, Myers? Easy. X equals 4y minus 1, correct? What letter is that? What does x equal? 4y minus 1. 3, not x. 4y minus 1 plus 5y equals 31. Look at what has happened. How many unknowns are there? 1. We can solve this now. Solve for the remaining variable. 12y minus 3 plus 5y equals 31. 17y minus 3 equals 31. 17y equals 34. Y equals 2. Yeah? If y equals 2, what is the last unknown I have? X. But right here I know x is 4y minus 1, isn't it? And what does y equal? 2. So what happens? X equals 4, not y, 2 minus 1, which is 7. What is the solution to the system? 7, 2. Mr. Myers, am I doing it right? Am I doing it right? Am I doing it right? I don't know, kid, are you? Is 7 minus 8 negative 1? Yes. Is 21 plus 10 31? Kid, am I doing it right? Kid, am I doing it right? Kid, am I doing it right?
We're adults.
I was about to take a sip of coffee. Good thing I didn't. It would have come right out my nose, all over Gervine. That's good.
That's so funny.
I needed that, Catherine. Thanks. Is this easy to solve? Then solve it. Which one do you want to work with? The first one. And what letter are you going to find? Y. Good job. Can I sing? What? No, I'm a horrible singer. Oh, I mean, I can. It's not that hard to sing. Oh, yeah, I don't care. Oh, you mean you want me to use... Okay, I got you. Okay. Y equals 3 minus 2x. And then I think I worked in pink. So 4x plus 3 times 3 minus 2x.
What made it minus 2x?
When I moved the positive 2x over here, it became negative. And then I believe I solved in a blue? Dark blue? I don't either. Dark green. 4x plus 9 minus 6x equals 1. 9 minus 2x equals 1. Negative 2x equals negative 8. X equals 4. Then, since I know what x is, I need y. I have that right here. Y equals 3 minus 2 times 4, which is 3 minus 8, which is negative 5. And my final answer, is 4, negative 5. Kid, did I do it right? Kid, did I do it right?
Adult.
What, Mr. DeVries came in? When you come back for your 10-year reunion and I am there, I might possibly consider some of you adults when you're 28. Maybe. I know a lot of 28-year-olds, they're barely scratching the surface of adulthood. And if you're still living in your parents' basement, you're not. You live upstairs and you moved your parents to the basement? That's very adult. Yes. Mom, Dad, you don't need the rest of this house. There's only 2 of you. I'm trying to start a family. You guys, down to the basement. I want the rest of it. That, adult. Oh, yeah, they got to pay the mortgage still. Yeah, because adults don't have to pay to live. Please. What? Do it what, huh? I don't know. I didn't graduate from here. Both schools I went to high school for did 10-year and 20-year reunions. I went to my 10-year reunion from the school I actually graduated from, and I went to the 20-year reunion of the school I should have graduated from if I didn't move. I don't know where I'm going to go for the 30th. I haven't decided yet. It's 2022. It's 30 years since I graduated. Now, stop and turn the page over. What's wrong with who are the last one? There's no coefficient. Oh my good gravy. There is no single coefficient. So you have a couple of options. One, you could say, Mr. Myers told me what to do, I will do that. And you will isolate one of the variables and you will get a bunch of fractions. And then you will go, does not compute, cannot do fractions. Or you'll use your brain. What do you notice there and there? 4x and 4x, correct? Yeah. So here, doesn't 4x equal 2 minus 5y? Doesn't it? And here, doesn't 4x equal 20y minus 3? Doesn't it? Well, if 4x equals this, and 4x equals this, what does that tell us about those two things? That they are the same. Isn't 2 minus 5y equal to 20y minus 3? Because this equals 4x, and this equals 4x, and 4x equals 4x. Stay calm. Big breath. Use your diaphragms. Don't do one of those chest breaths. Do a real breath so you can get your crap together. Now, this, of course, means 25y equals 5, and y equals 1/5. Yes? Do we now know what y is? Now, which of those equations is the right equation to substitute that into to keep it easy? Top one or bottom one? Why the top one? Because 5 and 1/5 will cancel nicely, won't they? 4x plus 5 times 1/5 equals 2. Cancel, cancel. 4x plus 1 equals 2. 4x equals 1. X equals 1/4. Do I have them? McKenna? I isolated y. I collected my like terms. -3 becomes positive. Negative 5 becomes positive. 20 plus 5y is 25y. 3 plus 2 is 5. Now, easy to check. Yes, Preston.
I don't get how you did the very first part of 4x equals 2 minus 5y.
I isolated 4x by moving the 5y over here. Can I check this easily? What's 4 times a quarter? 1. What's 5 times a fifth? 1. What's 1 plus 1? 2. What's 4 times a quarter? 1. What's 20 times a fifth? 4. What's 1 minus 4? Negative 3. Done. Everybody good? Now you're intelligent young people. Substitution didn't work very well here, did it? It didn't, did it? Because that's the last example. Is there another method to solving these?
Yes.
Yeah. Now, your work. I've given you 8 to practice with that work perfectly. If you feel you've got it, don't bother. But this puzzle sheet is my favorite puzzle sheet of them all. This is the puzzle sheet to rule them all. This is the puzzle sheet that they would make 12 hours of movies about. This is the puzzle sheet that you would seek at the base of Mount Doom. This is it. If you do no other puzzle sheets ever, do this one because it's freaking hilarious. Of course, you're all going to look it up on your phone, which...
Did Catherine tell you that her blender story?
She bought a new one.
Yeah, I got a new. No, it came on Saturday.
Oh, I forgot.
And I